CCU Orlando, Natural Awakenings Magazine, and Unity of Nashville present The Authentic Spiritual Journey, a weekly show featuring real and practical spiritual conversations from diverse perspectives here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. Today, episode 64, Wake Up, Wake Up, Wake Up! And now your host, Reverend Cynthia Alice Anderson.
Hello and welcome to the Authentic Spiritual Journey. My name is RCA. I am the host. Almost said I'm the senior minister.
Hey.
I'm the host.
Well, you're that too.
Yeah, I'm the senior minister. Yeah. I am the host of the Authentic Spiritual Journey. We are here in 818 Studios with my amazing producer.
Hello, everybody. My name is Dave Croft. Thank you so much for joining us today for this week's episode of The Authentic Spiritual Journey.
We're always happy to be in the studio together. It always lifts us up, it reminds us of the truth, causes us to remember who we really are. And today's no exception, especially today. The title of today's show is Wake Up, Wake Up, Wake Up. Now, if we were in church, I'd go, Wake up, Wake up, Wake up. I would clap with it.
Now, is clapping, is that one of the things you learn in like preacher school?
Not at all.
They don't teach you, hey, now if you notice your congregation nodding off, clap
Start
real
saying,
loud.
Wake up, wake up, wake up. I think it's kind of hard to sleep at CCU Orlando.
Definitely.
But wake up, wake up, wake up. I'm excited about this topic, and I'm excited about those of us who are beginning to wake up, and we want to encourage that and support that in one another. Before we get into the show, we want to do a shout out. We're doing a few more in the U.S. because really, when you look at the map, it's just totally lit up with people all over the country. Listening to us, downloading the episodes. So I'm saying hi to our friends in Seattle, Washington. And I know there's probably people in other parts of Washington. I'll have to look at that are listening. But Washington State was a super special place to me. I lived there for 12 years. I went to school there. I was a musician there. And I had many great teachers, great percussionists actually in Seattle, great music scene in Seattle, a lot of great world music there as well.
So you were in Seattle in the 90s?
Yes.
So
yes,
you were
in the
like
90s.
Grunge scene. That was,
you
were there when
total goth.
Nirvana and Pearl Jam was coming out of Seattle. What was that like? I mean, was Seattle fully aware that popular music was coming from your...
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, Kurt Cobain. I mean, it was just ridiculous, you know, the energy around all that. But and there was a real heavy goth scene up in the area of town is called Capitol Hill, and I actually lived up there. So, and you know, with I would often be down at Pike Place Market, and you know,
as in like Pike Place Coffee, like Starbucks Pike Place Blend.
Yes,
all of that?
I was at the original store in '87, the year Starbucks started.
Oh, wow.
So, and then it started to expand as I lived there. I used to be such a huge fan of Starbucks in its beginnings, and that original store I still love. I mean, I think the original floor is still there, and it's down by Pike Place Market, which is known for the flying fish and all sorts of that.
All right.
Also, I met one time walking at Pike Place. I met Jeff Smith, you know, the great chef who had a show. Anyway, so Seattle was a great town for me. It's an awesome town to be from and to be able to live in. It's incredibly progressive in its understanding of the environment and our part in it. Really great schools, really great spaces to be outside. You know, like I helped this one area do salmon restoration in one of the streams at one of the parks. So anyway, Seattle listeners, we love you, we bless you. And my time in Seattle was very, very special. And I'll be there actually later, this summer, or next summer rather, in 2020. I will be speaking at Unity in Linwood, so I will be in the greater Seattle area next year. So
very great, and we'll have details on that, obviously, as it gets closer.
Yeah. So thank you for listening, as always. Thank you for sharing with your friends and loved ones. And it means a lot to us that you listen and also that you share, because we want to see this message going outward. And today is no exception. And I'm waking up with a little bit of Java. If you're watching the video, you will see me take a sip, and I say, praise God for black medicine.
Yeah, we're big fans of coffee. Mm-hmm. We should find a coffee sponsor, I think.
I know. There's actually a couple places I'm going to talk with.
There has to be a coffee shop where, like, you know, who is spiritually minded and all of that. That isn't called like some sort of church pun, like holy grounds.
Yeah, right.
Like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Jehovah Java.
Jehovah Job. I was trying to think of another one. Yeah, yeah. So this show, wake up, wake up, wake up. This is a phrase I use often. Wake up, wake up, wake up. And I do it because we all get stuck in a trance. We all get stuck in a trance. We get stuck in the trance of everything seems so real. Everything seems so important. And I was stuck in that a little earlier today where things were getting my attention that were, I'll be honest, less than my highest. So wake up, wake up, wake up means I am coming back to center. It means I'm going to see things for what they are. There are things on the journey. They are, and what I'm speaking of are perceived problems. Perceived problems that we make so big are ultimately just guideposts on the journey. And so if we give them too much energy, well, we're actually adding to the problem instead of making it better. So, and it's a balance because as we think about issues that come up, well, they have to be handled. Maybe there's paperwork that needs to be done. Maybe there's phone calls that need to be made. Maybe there's accounts that needs to be opened or closed. Maybe there's maybe you're working with your will or whatever. There's life things that are happening all the time. So we think, how do we deal with these things and give them their proper place and not blow these things out of proportion where they're getting all of our energy. So we want to ultimately view life from the highest perspective. And as we're always talking on the show, this is always about our authentic spiritual journey as it relates to our soul evolution, right? That ultimately the whole show is about reawakening consciousness to love, acceptance, and peace. So as we're talking through these ideas, that's kind of I was going to say the undercurrent, that's kind of the pedal tone of everything. That's under everything. Everything we're talking about is to reawaken consciousness. Wake up, wake up, wake up means look around. What are you doing right now? Can you remember the last 5 minutes, the last 3 hours? If you can't, chances are you were not conscious. Chances are you were not conscious. So wake up, wake up, wake up means get conscious. Where are you? What are you doing? Where is your mind? So.
Yeah, and for our non-musical listeners, a pedal tone is a musical term where you would have like a bass note. Like if a piano player, they would be playing one note on the left hand way down low, and on top, like chords would be changing or melody would be changing, but that one note would be consistent regardless of what was happening on top.
Right.
So that's the musical correlation.
How possible would it be to give them a pedal tone to hear? Like I could say something and you could do something fabulous over there on a pedal tone.
Let's find out.
Yeah. Let me say a word about that. Pedal tone, it is always interesting in music. It's in so many shows now that have a lot of suspense, and Dave could speak to this better than me because he writes the stuff. But I've really noticed it in this show I've been watching recently, this pedal tone. I think I mentioned it to you.
No, you keep going, keep going.
So wake up, wake up, wake up is about reawakening consciousness. So as we're thinking about this today.
Yeah, sorry. Because we're actively recording,
you can't do it.
I can't get it dialed up. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's right. But you described it beautifully.
Yeah, we'll tell you what I'll do is I'll find a YouTube video that kind of shows some musical examples, and we'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah. So many years ago, I had a teacher say to me, and it was Reverend Sharon Poindexter. She's made her passing. And Reverend Sharon would say, "Are you conscious?" And of course, all of us would say, yeah, we're conscious. We're conscious. What have you been doing in the last 5 minutes, the last 30 minutes, the last hour, the last 3 hours? And, as adults who are busy, that was hard to like go back and say, what we'd been doing. So she said, "You are not conscious. Bring your mind into conscious awareness." So there's a teaching in Unity that's been super helpful to me in these ideas. It's called the 3 phases of mind. The 3 phases of mind. And the 3 phases of mind are conscious, subconscious, and superconscious. So the conscious mind is where we know what's happening. It's where we are aware, we are awake. And in fact, we can then choose from the conscious mind to go into the superconscious mind, which is, of course, the level of spirit and soul, right? So the conscious mind is where we want to be because it gives us the power to choose. So if I'm saying, wake up, wake up, wake up, that means we're probably in the subconscious. The subconscious mind includes all of our memories, our thoughts, our feelings, our beliefs, our ideas. So everything that's back in there. And the subconscious includes past lives. It includes childhood memories. Any memory you have of anything is stored in the subconscious mind. So all of our I started to say, let me finish the initial thought. When you have something come up seemingly out of nowhere, like from your past, like maybe you're walking in a park and you go, oh my gosh, this reminds me of when I was 7 years old. I have not thought about this since I was 7 years old. That memory was from your subconscious. And it came to the top probably because there's something about that moment that either needs healing, maybe it has a connection to the place that you're in. Maybe, as we've been talking about on Sunday morning a few weeks ago, maybe it's because your intuition has been chipping away at this iceberg of your consciousness, and it's chipped away at something in the subconscious so it can come forward, so it can be used for healing.
Have you seen Inside Out?
No. What is it? A movie?
Yeah, it's an animated movie, Pixar.
Oh, yeah.
And it is all about this kind of stuff.
Oh, really?
It is absolutely. It's about personality. It's about emotion, and it starts with the characters is everybody has inside them five. I think it's 4 or 5 basic emotions. One is joy. Another one's sadness. Another one's fear. One is anger, and the other one is disgust. Right, and so it's not exactly like I think those were the ones that they could probably animate the best and do, but it's all about they have a whole trip into the subconscious, and so the character you take the viewpoint of the characters inside their head as a little girl named Riley moves her family moves, and it talks about how experience builds up major components of their personality.
Oh, yes.
Whether it's sports or family or these other activities. And so I don't want to spoil anything, but they go into the subconscious and they talk about, long-term memory and long-term storage and short-term storage and how memories become core elements of your personality and how everything gets viewed through certain core elements, and you absolutely 100% unapologetically owe it to yourself to see that movie.
Yes, it sounds like it. It sounds like it for me, for sure, and maybe even for our listeners as well. Are you speaking for me and our listeners, I guess? It sounds really cool. Inside Out sounds like a great movie. So, and that's the idea. Dave's handing me a copy right now. Okay, yeah. Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Is it kid friendly? Do you think
It is 100% kid friendly.
Okay, that's cool. So my 12-year-old would be.
Yeah,
he'd probably love it.
Then the music, Michael Giacchino. Anyway, but that is going to be your new favorite movie about personality and memory and everything.
That's crazy. So yeah, we want to wake up from personality. So when we're talking about the conscious mind waking up or moving it to the forefront, so conscious, subconscious, superconscious. It's not like there's 3 little boxes in your body and, you pick out a file when you're ready. It's all related. It's kind of all there in the soup of your soul. And the subconscious is actually fraught with, like I say, memory, but it's actually what brings healing, because as things come up from the subconscious, what the human thing to want to do is to curse it and go, why the, blankety blank, why the bleep did that come up? And what we realize is that as something comes up from the subconscious, it is coming up for healing. So rather than resisting that, we want to bless that, even though, friends, it's 100% normal at first to go, why is that here? So I want to encourage you to, if something's coming up and you're trying to put it to the side, I want to encourage you to say, boy, I am being called to wake up to what is this? Where is the healing for me in this? And how can I move forward? Because until you deal with it, and this is important, hear this, until you deal with it, you cannot move forward. You can go in circles, you can go backwards, but you cannot go forwards. So dealing with whatever's up for you that needs healing, whatever's floated up from the subconscious, I want you to wake up to it, because it's like Spirit is saying, you are ready to wake up. That's why it's here. That's why it's here. And these wake up calls are often, if not always, difficult. We all want to be awake to the good things in life, but when we experience something that's a hard memory, or we see an aspect of ourselves, it's like, oh man, I really need to work on that, or we see it and sometimes we feel ashamed, we feel wrong, we think, oh my gosh, am I still doing this? And I want to heal this. So this is what happens. Well, all those are clues into what your healing is, because we want to remember we are not our history. We are not what needs to be healed. We are not even our emotions. We're far bigger than our circumstance or even our feeling nature wants to have us believe. Ultimately, we are soul. So if you take away anything today, I want you to remember I am soul, and I am waking up to my soul every time something comes my way, especially if I don't like it, especially if it's hard. So we talk often here and at CCU Orlando about the soul journey. We talk about how perceived problems, in fact, are good. So we learn to bless what's happening because we realize it's waking us up. We realize it's waking us up.
Right.
I was working with a friend not too long ago going through a really difficult situation, and he was finding new aspects of himself for how he had to deal with it. And that's happened to me over the years in ministry as I've, there was a season, this is about, 5 or 6 years ago, where giving was really down at the church, and I had to figure out how to manage through that. And as I grew into a better leader, I understood the only thing for me to do was to tell the board I was taking a voluntary pay cut. That was a growth for me, because I could see that the church really couldn't afford what they were paying me, and I wanted to support my staff. I didn't want any of them, to experience that. So at the time, I knew that was a decision to make, but a year previously, I don't think I would have been ready to even know to make that decision. It was just like everything, the word I'm thinking of is coalesced. Everything kind of came into clarity. It's like, this happened, this happened, this happened. It was like, Spirit, what do I do? And it's like, oh, this is on me. So once I got clear on that, which is so interesting, and I again, it was voluntary. The board did not ask me to do it. I said to them, I'm taking it. And I turned down my first 3 raises because, I just always want to really honor where the giving was. And so what was so interesting, the first month that I took the pay cut, I actually made more money because I had money coming from all different places. So as I took the step of taking a cut, it was like the universe said, oh, wow, you did learn that lesson. Here's more. And so even though I was willing to follow that, and it was a newfound skill and strength to be able to look at what was happening and move forward into that, I knew it was exactly the right thing to do. Boy, the universe really supported me. So I woke up to a new possibility and really, really felt the support of the whole universe. And it was from a strange place, like a church over here sent me a tithe that helped a year previous. Another church ordered a bunch of books. I think it was a church in Omaha that had ordered a bunch of my books. It just kind of happened out of nowhere. And it was like, wow, God is my source. It is not CCU Orlando. It is not the congregation of CCU Orlando. It is God is my source, and it's going to come through any channel. And that was an amazing wake-up call for me. It's like I really do work for God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been dealing with some back pain and stuff, and I can't remember if we talked about this on the show, but it's talking about subconscious and everything.
Right.
I read a book called Healing Back Pain, The Mind-Body Connection by John Sarno, Dr. John Sarno. And he talks in that book about how much back pain, like sciatica pain and that kind of thing, isn't physical, but rather it's a manifestation of, and he doesn't say subconscious, he says unconscious.
Okay, I'll talk about the difference. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd love to hear the difference in that is of unconscious, either repressed memories or something that's manifesting itself. And so when things start to come to the conscious mind, because your body, and the whole point of repressed memory is to not hurt you, right?
Yeah,
And so the brain
right.
represses it. And so when things start to come up, then the brain goes, ooh, we need to distract distract you. So we're
Yeah.
going to cause some back pain, and that being an actual defense mechanism from your body to basically repress the memories. It was really, really heady, and I don't know if I am 100% all in on that, especially since it's so metaphysical, I guess. But I thought it was really, really interesting the way that, and I hadn't thought of something from the subconscious, or like I said, he calls it unconscious, manifesting physically in your body.
Yeah, and I've worked with both of those words. It's really interesting, even with the specific metaphor of the iceberg. And I don't think those words are totally interchangeable, but spiritually, we always talk about the subconscious, and it kind of gets a bad rap because people always think it's only the negative, but everything, including the positive, is alive in your subconscious. When we're talking about the unconscious, like that includes the dream state, that includes vision, and I'm not sure the subconscious would include that, right? So the unconscious, and I've read the most about the unconscious from reading Carl Jung, and and doing shadow work, and so the idea with the unconscious is that there is, and Carl Jung says that's where all the gold is, in your shadow. What are you trying to learn? And so it's unconscious, until it isn't. So like we are in an unconscious state when we are dreaming, and the things that we are dreaming are trying to bring us, or when we're sleeping rather. So we're in an unconscious state when we're sleeping, and those dreams that come through are trying to bring us into consciousness about certain ideas. You've heard me say before that dreams are a wonderful thing to do work on because of what they will bring you in terms of lessons and teachings for your soul. So yes, I think the unconscious is full of help and support, and I think includes dreams. I think it includes visions. It includes things you would get in the meditative state. So usually as we think of the subconscious, we usually think of memory.
Okay.
So I think the unconscious is probably a little more complete understanding when you're thinking of it that way, which is including psychology and shadow and pieces like that.
Yeah, I wish he did make a delineation. I mean, he did say, I'm deliberately not saying subconscious here for this reason, and I can't remember.
Oh, that's all right. If somebody's interested,
great into my story. But
they can read the book if somebody has a great interest. And what we want to do second half, I want to talk a little bit about how spirit wakes us up through outside forces. So we'll be right back after these few messages. And thank you again for all your sponsorship and support of the show.
We'll return to the program in just a few minutes, but first, we wanted to give a special word of thanks to our podcast partner, CCU Orlando, who has helped make this episode of the Authentic Spiritual Journey possible. CCU Orlando is a welcoming community dedicated to transforming lives, celebrating diversity, and supporting soul growth. CCU Orlando is located at 771 Holden Avenue in Orlando, Florida, with Sunday services at 9 and 11 a.m. You can stream services live online as well as learn more at christchurchunity.net. We'd also like to thank Natural Awakenings Magazine of Central Florida, Greater Orlando. Each month, Natural Awakenings magazines across the country take a practical look at the latest natural approaches to nutrition, fitness, creative expression, personal growth, and sustainable living. Natural Awakenings magazine is a free publication and is available in selected stores, health and education centers, healing centers, public libraries, and wherever free publications are located. You could learn more, including advertising opportunities for your business, by calling 407-628-0705. And finally, we'd like to extend our special thanks to Unity of Nashville, a sister ministry of CCU Orlando. If you're searching for a like-minded church community and a personal connection that supports your heart and mind in the Central Tennessee area, then join Unity of Nashville at 10 a.m. every Sunday morning at 5125 Franklin Pike. For more information, head over to unityofnashville.org. And now we return you to this week's episode of The Authentic Spiritual Journey with your host, Reverend Cynthia Alice Anderson.
Hey, welcome back. Wake up, wake up, wake up.
Yeah, hopefully that little ad break didn't send you into the unconscious state. If you're driving, definitely not an unconscious state.
Yeah, we want to make sure you're with us, you're awake, you're alive, alert, awake, enthusiastic. That's that old Unity song, Alive, Alert, Awake, Enthusiastic. I used to sing it with my kids at school.
Oh, yeah?
Uh-huh. Have you ever heard it?
I have never heard it.
It's like, I'm alive, alert, awake, enthusiastic. I'm alive, alert, awake, enthusiastic. I'm alert, alive, awake, alert, alive, alive, alert, awake, enthusiastic.
That's a
and
tongue
then,
twister.
Yeah, and then you go faster and faster.
Faster.
And so the kids, are going alive, alert, awake, it's
That's
a lot
good.
of
No,
fun.
I haven't heard that before.
Yeah, especially because I would make them jump around and move during it. So anyway, I would make sure they were awake. Wake up, wake up, wake up. So we are waking up. We are waking up to our soul. We are waking up to the divine in our lives, and Spirit is sending you signs. So if you've ever been driving down the road, you're thinking so strongly, and down swoops a hawk and right back up right in front of your car. If we were in church, I'd say, raise your hand if that's ever happened.
Oh, yeah. Shannon and I, anytime like a bird goes in front of the car, we always say, give you worm. Like the birds are daring each other to swoop in front of the cars. And so they bet a worm in our little bird world.
Well, why that's happening, actually, Dave, I'm going to wake you up to this idea.
Yep.
Why that's happening is Spirit is getting your attention. And the kind of bird even makes a difference, believe it or not.
Okay.
The kind of bird even makes a difference. So there is a lot of mystery and lore around a lot of tradition, a lot of very important story full of sacred meaning, especially from the indigenous peoples on this very topic. There's also a lot of mythology. If you've read anything about Merlin, the crow is a very, important messenger, right? In some of the Merlin stories. So in my path, some of my teachers of the Native way, I worked with an Ojibwe elder. I've worked with a Cherokee teacher as well, and in every case of my my teachers of Native and Indigenous wisdom, they're always teaching me more about how the natural world is interacting with us. And so probably most of our listeners do not know that the Cherokee tribe has 7 clans. Okay, there's 7 family clans is what it originally was. And so in my family, we believe there's 2 clans. There's the bird clan, and there's probably the deer clan. Those are 2 of the clans. And so always my whole life, I've had a strong connection with birds, and my mom did as well, and my dad with deer. So there's a lot of stuff there. So from a very early age, we were taught to revere, care for, honor, and we had birds growing up often. And my mom, would care for injured animals all the time. Like one time we were going down the road and this owl swooped down and the car actually hit it. So it just so happened my mom had a big towel in the car and was able to swoop it up, and she and my sister took it back to safety and healed it up. She's done that with turkeys, with all kinds of animals. Anyway, so my whole life already, it's kind of like it was in my DNA already to revere, to honor, and really see these winged creatures as our messengers. Well, the more I studied some of the native ways, I understood that even different cultures, like the owl, for instance, is seen different by the Lakota people, or the Oglala Sioux in like South Dakota, very different than, say, in the Cherokee, so even your culture can even make a difference how you view those things.
Like what would, like when you, I don't
like, so if you saw an owl and you were in the Lakota, or
sorry.
if you were in the Lakota culture and you saw an owl is a messenger of death.
Oh, okay.
Right? So if you were just going along, all of a sudden you saw an owl, you would say, oh my goodness.
It'd be an omen.
It'd be like an omen, yes. But now if you were Cherokee, you might say, oh, this is a sign of right seeing. Like I'm going to have a situation where I'm going to need my night vision. I may be in an area that's dark and I may need to be able to
Okay.
see.
All right. That makes sense. Yeah.
And their heads don't turn quite all the way all the way around, but I want to say it's like over 200 degrees they can turn, not a full 360, but so I'm saying all this. I didn't know we were going to go here, but the reason I did on the way to the podcast today, Dave, my mind was, if I say this, I'm sure you all are going to connect. My mind was like kind of chewing on something. It was like I was going over and over in my mind, and I kept trying to figure it out, and I didn't realize that I was doing what I talk about all the time. I was trying to figure things out at the level of the mind. And so I was driving here. I was probably about a mile from here, and all of a sudden this hawk, and I see several animals, by the way, in your neighborhood. This hawk, and it was a Cooper's hawk, swooped down right in front of my car and off. And I said, oh, that's right. I saw a hawk and I saw a Cooper's hawk. So that means I'm supposed to lift my vision. So immediately, the situation I was working in, I started giving thanks for it. I started being in gratitude, giving thanks for the situation, giving thanks for the people helping me, giving thanks for a right working out, because I'm concerned about a situation with a friend of mine, and I kept thinking, how can I help? How can I work it out? How can I maybe call somebody to help him? And as soon as I saw that hawk, I released it, and I said, so Spirit wakes us up by these signs. Butterflies landing on you is a wonderful sign from the natural world that transformation is going to be happening for you.
What's interesting is right before we left Memphis, like right before all of that shook
All
down, right?
that's, yeah.
Shannon got a vision about butterflies and started seeing monarch butterflies everywhere.
There you go. There
And
you go.
little did we know what was fixing to shake down. But
Yeah, right.
yeah, it was definitely a transformation.
It was. And as we're saying all this, waking up sometimes can be hard, because it requires us to lose our denial.
Yeah, especially if you're comfortable and it's like it's a good dream, you know what I mean? It's like I don't want to leave. I'm safe and
Yeah.
I know everything here and it's familiar and yeah.
Yeah. So, sometimes we're a little, I don't know if you guys have ever done this. Sometimes when I wake up, this has happened to me at the acupuncturist, actually. Sometimes I go so deep in acupuncture, there's this one point, if he does this third eye point, I mean, I am down for the count. And I have woken up thinking I'm at home. It's so disorienting at first.
Yep.
That's how waking up spiritually can be. It's like you wake up to your soul, you go, geez, how did I get here? Or what's happening right now? I've never dealt with this before. And so, and as a matter of fact, the next show, I'm going to be talking a little bit more about this because, as we start to wake up, boy, things start to shift. Like I say, our denial is blown. And sometimes there's even a level of shock in the first few, maybe hours, days, weeks, as we're waking up to a new idea or waking up to a new part of ourselves. So the idea ultimately, friends, is that as we're waking up to our souls, and that Spirit is bringing us signs. So I talked about a couple, and I want to go more deeply in that if you're driving down the road and a hawk swoops down, I want you to take note. I also want to tell you about a book, if you're very new to this kind of thing, that is excellent. It's called Animal Speak, and it's by an author named Ted Andrews. And then there are others that come after that. One's called Animal Wise, and he has several books, and he is amazing in his understanding of the natural world. Also, other times, we get woken up with things that are not quite as pleasant as a hawk in front of the car, as a crow landing on a certain spot. It's funny because this show I was watching recently, a crow keeps appearing to the main characters, and the main characters are pretty bad, but they see the crow as an omen, and that it has deep meaning, you can tell. So depending on your culture, your history, where you live, it might be something other than what I'm saying, and I want to lift that up. That's why I mentioned the difference between if you're Lakota or Cherokee, or you're just, an average white guy from, from Missouri. Yours might be different. Yours might be different. But remember to honor the sign and do some research so you learn more about it. in my experience, the natural world has never been wrong when I've trusted what we call in the native world animal medicine, that each animal has a certain medicine it brings to a situation. And if we're waking up or you need to wake up and you get an animal sign out of the blue, or like, let's say you're driving down the road. This has happened to me many times. I'll be driving down the road and maybe it's like at dusk and I look over and I see like a deer or 4 or 5 deer. Well, it's kind of unusual in the middle of Orlando. So if I see that, I go, okay, that I need to pay attention to that. So deer is about grace, about, beauty. So
Yeah, there's a native character in Star Trek Voyager. I don't know if you watched Voyager.
No, I haven't.
Named Chakotay, and there's several episodes that talk about like animal guides and spirit guides.
Yes,
and what it means and how your animal guide is just for you, and and it's really really fascinating.
Yeah, well, there are internal spirit guides as well, and those can wake you up as well. Mostly today, what I've been talking about is external, but yes, there are internal guides as well. Sometimes you may get a sign of waking up is you may get a feeling of like, oh, I don't know why, but all of a sudden I feel like I'm just coming into myself. Like, we talked about it at class recently where when you really start to deepen your meditative practice, you can go through a time like maybe you'll have a wave of cold or heat come to you with no apparent reason, and you're not in menopause or menopause, as I like to joke with my male friends, because several of my male friends, both straight and gay, have assured me there is such a thing as menopause because they've experienced it. But they've told me more detail than I ever imagined I'd want to know. But so the waking up can be new thoughts arising that you've never had before. So sometimes the waking up is subtle. Sometimes it's like you try to go a certain direction and there's a tree across your path and you can't go. Sometimes it's like major, like, okay, oh my gosh, I'm stopping. Okay, pay attention to that. Where were you going? Who were you seeing? What were you going to do when you got there? So the universe, I want to say it this way. This brings tears to my eyes. The universe is very interested in you. Yeah. It's like the overwhelming sense, and I'm feeling it now, which is what brought tears to my eyes. The overwhelming sense that we are so loved and so supported if we will just pay attention instead of powering through things and forcing things to happen. Spirit is always giving us signs to guide the way, So if you're going somewhere and you get a stop and you don't know why, it's taking you longer to get there than you think it should, wake up. Wake up.
Yeah, it's not the universe conspiring against you. It might be the universe conspiring to show you something.
It's always the universe conspiring for you. Always. Yeah. Even if in the short term it looks like the universe is against you, it's not possible. It's not possible. Every place that you feel society is pushing you down, it is waking you up to your true self in every way. After 9/11, as a people and a culture, I believe America woke up after 9/11. And what was interesting is that as Americans started to wake up, the president of the United States then, that was Bush, the president of the United States said, "Don't worry, we got this, go shopping." In other words, numb back out. But after 9/11, more peace movements than in the history of our country sprung up after that. So by no means am I saying 9/11 was a good thing. It was a horrific act. But what happened in terms of consciousness and in terms of the souls is that people started waking up, that they cannot be asleep, that they have to be active. They have to be active in bringing peace. And the last thing they need to be doing is going shopping. They need to work for peace among all people.
But I guess I interpreted that differently because, and I liken it to, when my mom passed.
Mm-hmm.
My mom passed. What I needed was something normal, and so it was kind of like a dealing with grief kind of mechanism. And so, I think I played video games. Like when I heard my mom had passed, I couldn't go yet, couldn't get a plane, so I was just kind of stuck. in Memphis at the time and couldn't do anything. And so what I felt like my soul needed at that time was something normal that felt that I can put my brain around. Not to not think of it, but just kind of went out for that. And so when 9/11 happened, that's what that felt like. And that's what I thought the go shopping thing meant.
It could have. It could have. That's
At least
certainly
that's
a
what
valid.
it meant for me.
Exactly. I was just going to say it's a very valid understanding of what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Consciousness wise, though, there was a huge shift.
Yeah.
Whatever the president
Yeah.
meant.
I don't disagree with that, and I'm not trying to.
No, that's fine. We want to have differences of opinion. We haven't in a while, Dave. We're going to go to blows after the break over it.
Right.
Yeah, right. I think that's good. That is a very different perspective. It's definitely a valid one, and it could have been.
Yeah.
My perspective was just that rather than not paying attention, now is the time to really pay attention. And so, whether that was the intent or not, what I know happened after that was that people started waking up.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, it's been really interesting. My history, as I've spoken on the show before with Muslims, and I was just texting with my Muslim friend today. We're going to get together for coffee, and I'm going to have him back at the church. So there's so many misunderstandings there. So we want to wake up, friends, to the truth of who we are, to the truth of who God is. So as things are happening in your life, pay attention. Especially when things are happening that you don't like, especially when things are happening that you are resisting. We don't want to move away from those and avoid those. We kind of want to, and not even kind of, so I'm warming up, I'm helping you warm up to this. I was going to say, you kind of want to move into it.
Right.
You do want to move towards that, not to take over, not to force an outcome, but to see what's there. In other words, lean into it and say, man, this feels really weird. Like I recently had to have a conversation with a friend, and it was tough. It was just because I was feeling something weird and she was not at all. But I said, I just need to check this out with you. And it was vulnerable. I didn't want to do it. And as I leaned into it, she said, I totally understand. Here's what was going on for me. And I was like, oh, thank you so much. I just felt so much better. But if I hadn't leaned into it, I would have been, again, going back to sleep, not dealing with what was right in front of me. And right now, I have a real push to be in clarity in every area of my life. So I didn't want to leave something hanging out there, I guess, that was not talked about.
Yeah, and I can't believe it's taken me this long to think of this. Shannon and I, we narrated an audiobook from Ann Emerson. It's called Essence, Expanding Self-Awareness, Awakening Inspiration, and Inspiration. Yes, I narrated the audiobook, Unleashing Our Power from Within. And what it's about is it talks about the basically states of consciousness.
Yes.
You have sleeping souls, which is what she calls it, people that are not conscious to everything happening in the world, whether it's finance or whether it's peace or personal goals, all of that. And then you have seekers, so people that are kind of reaching out of it, and then you have those awakened people, and so we'll put links to that. But
let's do it. That's really, an amazing book, and I just got a copy. I have not read it yet, but I just thumbed through it. And I was like, it looks fantastic.
Yeah, it's really, really good, and there's a workbook that goes along with it.
I got the workbook too.
And like I said, me and Shannon, everything is in little aspects, and so there are like 42 or 44 different aspects, and so we alternate aspects.
Oh, cool!
And so they're really little bite-sized nuggets, and like I said, there's a workbook that goes along with it. So we'll put links to that in the show notes.
And so, friends, think about it. Look around your life. Are you being asked to wake up? Remember, waking up. Sometimes you're groggy. Sometimes you wonder, how did you get there? Or maybe that's former days when you were young and going on a bender. But we want to wake up to the truth of who we are, and remember, as we do that, we're moving our souls forward on the journey. So we're with you, friends. We are in it ourselves. We also know that Spirit is always sending all of us signs. So we want to just keep our eyes open. I had a great aunt that would say, keep your eyes and ears open, looking for signs, and know the universe is blessing you even now. So whatever may be going on, I want to encourage you to bless it, lean into it. See if you can see what the universe is trying to wake up in your consciousness. Bless it as you move through it and heal, so you can grow and evolve your soul. So we do thank each of you for all your support. Thank you for joining us on the spiritual journey of the evolving soul, and we will see you next week.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Authentic Spiritual Journey, presented by CCU Orlando, Natural Awakenings Magazine, and Unity of Nashville. The Experience of the Soul podcast channel is also made possible through the continued support of our angel patrons Dove Borland, Peter Gibson, Paul Caswell, J.J. Hamilton, Arlene Meyer, Kathy and Terry, Marcia Mott, Nora Miles, Diana Cox, Leslie Williams, and Susanna Garcia. If you would like to support the channel as a patron on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. And if you enjoy this podcast, help spread the word by sharing it with your friends and leaving a 5-star review on Apple Podcast, Google Play, Stitcher, or the platform of your choice. The Authentic Spiritual Journey is copyright 2019 Cynthia Alice Anderson, all rights reserved. Our theme music is composed by Dave Croft and used with permission. The Experience of the Soul podcast channel is a production of 818 Studios.